You're going to be shocked to hear this, but MSNBC was fawning over the milquetoast stale Democratic convention. They thought it was the best thing ever. So here's probably the best moment that highlights exactly what this network is for. This is what Joy Reid said about it.
Even though the presentations were wonderful in the first night, this was smooth. It was, I felt like as I was watching it, we were over the Biden's house. It was so relatable.
Yeah.
Who can't relate to Jill Biden? My mom was a college professor. I'm like, wow, I think Jill Biden might be my mom.
Yeah.
Right? These guys, they're so relatable. They're so normal. They're they're cut out of just, middle Americana in a way that the Trumps are just not. They're so not unusual that it's actually comforting to watch them.
That's why she has that job, just so you understand. That's why she has that job, to say stuff like that. People who are Democrats, people who are on the left, everybody knows, when you look at Fox News, everybody knows what their point is. The whole point of Fox News is to be the propaganda arm of the Republican Party, the propaganda arm of Donald Trump. That's why they exist. That's their mission. MSNBC exists to be the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. By the way, that does not mean they're leftists. That does not mean they're progressives. Because it's not about ideology. It's about the structure of the Democratic Party and Democratic leadership. Their agenda is the agenda of MSNBC. So really, this represents the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the Joe Bidens, the neoliberal corporate Democrat consensus. That's what they represent. And I've never seen a better example of them playing their role. That's what this is. They're playing their role. Because it's not like, this isn't even subtle. This isn't even subtle. Now, does she really believe these things? I'm sure she does. But again, that's why she was hired. That's why she's in that position. It's not nefarious in how they do the propaganda. It's the people who get those jobs are the ones who they already know are going to say the right things. So that's why Wolf Blitzer gets about 17 hours a day on CNN. He's never going to say something that rocks the boat. He's never going to say something that's interesting. He's going to always represent the establishment of both parties. That's what Wolf Blitzer does. Sean Hannity, biggest cheerleader for Republicans. He's there because that's exactly what they want in that role. MSNBC, Joy Reid, Rachel Maddow, they will go with the exact line that powerful Democratic leaders want them to go with. So what's the message here? I mean, think about it. The concern of the left is this guy's he's not going to fight for regular people. He's going to be a standard elitist. This is what the left is saying about Joe Biden. So what do? Look at all the arguments they make. I felt like I was over Biden's house. I only go over friends' houses, and we got to be close to do that. Are me and Joe Biden close? Are you and Joe Biden close? I think you are. They're so relatable. Biden is like my mom. For a second, I was like, is this my mom? He's so normal. This is middle Americana. I wish all that stuff was true. I wish he reflected middle America. I mean, if he did, he'd be for Medicare for all now, wouldn't he? He'd also be for legalizing marijuana. These are both overwhelmingly popular positions now that he's not in favor of. And guys, that's not a little thing. Like, some people might roll their eyes that I always come back to these examples, but these aren't little things. When it comes to Medicare for all, we're the only developed country that doesn't have one version or another of a universal healthcare system. People die. 40,000 people die every year because they don't have access to basic healthcare in this country. Now we have a pandemic. Now we have some people getting COVID bills over $1 million. Medical bills is one of the top causes of bankruptcy. These are not little things. This is like one of the most important issues, if not the most important issue. And they're overlooking the fact that he's not even in theory for Medicare for all to do rank propaganda for him like this. On the marijuana front, listen, this is the guy who wrote the crime bill. If he wants to make amends for his terrible history, his terrible record when it comes to race issues, whether it's writing the crime bill or working with segregationists as he did, Well, the way you do that is to legalize marijuana and free every single nonviolent drug offender who's locked up as a result of Joe Biden's work. Every single one, because guess what? The drug war's racist and it disproportionately locks up people of color. So you should free every single nonviolent drug offender, and that moves us closer to racial justice. Instead, he goes out there and pretends he's for racial justice without actually wanting to do anything on that front. This is what you get when you watch MSNBC. And there is an audience that likes this. It's wealthy suburbanite wine moms. That's who enjoys this. And, but it's pathetic, man. It's pathetic. You are the mirror image of Sean Hannity on Fox News. You will defend the Democratic Party no matter what they do. And guess what? The Democratic Party has already proven they'll continue a lot of the Republican policies. Barack Obama continued the wars. Barack Obama continued the illegal NSA spying. Now, when Republicans did it, you might say, I don't know about all that. But then when the Democrats do it, shh, so relatable. It's like I'm over their house. It's like Biden is my mom. You want to melt your brain watching this? Please, by all means, go right ahead. But just know, you're being played, man. You're being played. They're not telling you the truth. They're never going to tell you the truth. They're hacks. This is exactly like she's sitting next to Rachel Maddow here. Maddow, her whole thing, she was all in on Russiagate. She was telling her audience, making her audience believe that Donald Trump would be dragged out of the White House in handcuffs because he's a Manchurian candidate and he's Vladimir Putin's puppet. She was making people believe this. And then it didn't happen. And then there was no moment of like, wow, I guess I misread this, huh? There was no moment like that. She just kept going. She used the disproving of her grand theory as further evidence that her theory was correct, which is literally the hallmark of a conspiracy theory. And then she'll smugly go after Republicans for believing in conspiracy theories when she's herself a conspiracy theorist. It's so pathetic. Never in my wildest dreams did I think a decade ago that MSNBC would be this bad, but here we are. Yes, cover up a guy who supported all the outsourcing jobs, cover up for a guy who was in favor of the Patriot Act, cover up for a guy who voted for the Iraq War, cover up for a guy who wrote the crime bill. Listen, I got no problem with people who make an honest case for Joe Biden, but this is not that. This is just like, I don't even know the right word for it. It's beyond fawning. We need to invent a new word for how much this is doing propaganda for the Democrats, because the words that already exist are not sufficient.